Hello and welcome to Culture Vultures. I'm Sandy Frye, your host. Our creative producer is Nancy Cole. And this is a program that examines arts and culture around Tampa Bay. And today we have a very special anniversary to talk about, and with us is someone who is deeply involved in it. The anniversary is the 100th anniversary of the Tampa Hillsborough Library System, and Margaret Riles, a chief librarian in the system, is very much involved with all the celebrations that will take place in 2014 to celebrate this. And you might notice the gentleman who's with us, that's Andrew Carnegie. And another thing that distinguishes Tampa Hillsborough system is that there are 2 Carnegie libraries in. And Margaret, maybe you can begin by telling us how they managed to get 2, not 1, but 2.
The way it happened was that the city of West Tampa got its library first. It was a separate city, and in 1914 it opened its first Carnegie-funded library. And then 3 years later, the city of Tampa got its first Carnegie-funded library.
And then the rest is
Yes, and then
history.
eventually the West Tampa Library became part of the city of Tampa's library system when West Tampa was annexed into the city of Tampa.
Right.
Yeah.
Currently, there are 25 libraries in Hillsborough County, and that's really quite a bit. Hillsborough County originally was huge. I think it extended down almost to Bradenton.
Yes.
And also east. So really 25 now means that they are really serving individual communities. And I think that's very interesting too, because they can be problem solvers and celebrants for the community that they serve, which is a marvelous thing. Tell us a little bit first about some of the celebrations that we're going to see in the next couple of months.
Well, we have a wonderful year of Centennial celebrations going on. It started on January 1st of this year with a big birthday party at the West Tampa Library. It was attended by about 500 people, and it was really wonderful. Our next event is on March the 15th, and that will be a Women's History celebration to honor women who have made such a contribution to our public libraries.
Sure.
We really would not have ever had our public libraries if it weren't for women in the community. The women's clubs across Hillsborough County were instrumental in starting lending libraries and then fighting for a permanent library in their communities. So we're going to have a luncheon on March the 15th at the Strass Center, and we have 2 authors who are going to appear, Connie Mae Fowler and Doris Rutherford. And so I think that's going to be real nice. And we're going to have our first Stell Award, which we will give to a person who has made a lifetime contribution, a woman who's made a lifetime contribution to libraries in Hillsborough County.
What is it S-T-E-L?
S-T-E-L-L-E. And the award is named in honor of Helen Virginia Stell, who was our first librarian in the city of Tampa. She was hired in 1917 to open the new library. She moved down here from Minnesota to do this in 1917. And she was with us for 3 decades.
Well, if she came from Minnesota, I bet she was happy to be here.
Yes, for sure. And she was just a wonderful person, and she died in 1947, still working for us. So she worked for us from 1917 to 1947, and she is our only director who has been a woman.
Oh, really?
Yes.
How interesting.
Yes.
Well, currently, Joe Stein is director and has been for a goodly number of years, during which time a number of libraries were built. And the very interesting thing is that each of the libraries, or if not each, maybe the majority of libraries, have special projects which relate to their community. Tell us a little bit about some of them.
We do have our South Shore Library that has the John Crawford Art Studio, so they have a real emphasis on art. And our Town and Country Library, we have bilingual staff there, so that relates to that community. Their Friends group sponsors the Hispanic Heritage Contest every year.
Oh, really?
Yes.
That's
yes,
very interesting.
It is, yes. And they're all involved in their communities, but they're all different.
Yeah.
If you visit all 25 of our libraries, you won't find any two the same because they all reflect the different communities that they serve.
Right, and beyond that, you sort of serve as a locus for the English as a second language.
Yes, we do. We have we've been involved with the Literacy Council here for many years, and they have volunteers who teach English as a second language.
Yeah.
To a lot of the people who come to this country.
That's really meaningful, I think. Are the classes conducted in the libraries?
Yes, and it's one-on-one tutoring.
Right. So you would have to find a tutor who both spoke the foreign language of the recipient of this tutoring and also know how to teach English to someone who had that foreign language.
Right. Well, they're teaching them to read.
Right.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes.
And I understand that, is it in West Tampa also that they help children who are in a nearby school in studying better, reading, and so forth?
That you might be talking about the Robert Saunders
Is it
Library.
yeah.
Yes, yes, they do have a tutoring program there with the children.
I think that's great.
Yes.
And the school is right there. So
Booker T. Washington School is right next door, and we're building a new Robert Saunders Library now. Yes, it has just closed to build a new one.
So it's going to be bigger?
Yes, yes. It'll have an African American Cultural Center
great.
with it. It's going to be wonderful. Groundbreaking will take place very soon.
Oh,
on
good.
that
So it will
project.
be within the anniversary year.
Yes, yes.
Friends of the library are all over America, I'm sure.
Yes.
And each one helps with the particular project. What's interesting in Hillsborough?
Well, we have a wonderful Friends organization here. We have 21 chapters all across our county library system. And they raise money through their used bookstores and through their memberships for the library. The library system doesn't have any funding for programming. All the programmings that we have with using outside speakers is funded by our Friends of the Library. We don't have any county funds for that.
Right.
So
I think the Four Seasons Author Series, the proceeds of that goes to this kind of project.
Yes, it does. That is, yes, to bring in authors and other speakers.
Do you find it useful to sort of join theater, as it were, based on a certain book, to the book that children might well read, and then find they'll be sort of interested in the book because of what they see, or they come and already know what it is.
Yes, with movies are the same thing. In the theater, the Friends have brought in wonderful theater groups like the Atlantic Coast Theater group, so the children can see some of their favorite books in a play setting. So that's a wonderful thing. Yeah.
I'm sure it is. And then beyond that, you have how to work your computer, for example.
Yes,
I know that's not the title, but for me that would be the title.
Yes, we have ongoing classes in computers, and that's done by staff.
Oh, it is?
Yes, yes.
That's a good way to get them more and more used to things.
We have library technical assistants now who do our computer classes, and just the latest thing. We're starting QuickBook classes soon.
You'll have to explain what a QuickBook is.
It's an accounting software. Small business people use it a lot.
Just in time for April 15th.
Yes.
Okay. Well, good.
Yes.
That's interesting, too. The library contains more than books, of course.
Yes.
They contain digital films, and they also have sort of educational things. Do you tie that in with any of the other classes or instructions that happen?
Yes, yes we do. And we have demonstrations like in lots of our new services. The online services like Hoopla is a new service that we just got last month.
What is it?
That is videos and audios that you can download. and stream.
And you can stream it, so you don't
Yes,
have
you
to go
get 10
actually
a
to the
month.
library.
Yes, yes. You can download it to your tablet or your computer, and you can get movies and ebooks, songs. You can check out 10 a month.
That's very interesting.
Yes.
Very recently, Channel 3, the PBS, showed a documentary, which I saw a year ago at a documentary film festival. And it was called The American Promise, of two young boys who started in a private school in New York because they wanted to be more inclusive. And it followed them for about 15 years. They're adults now. And it was very, very interesting, largely for me, because the editing that was done from that first look at the film that I had, to the time that it was actually presented over PBS. And it gave me an insight into how much editing can influence the slant of any kind of production. So that was very interesting too. And if you sort of combine that with someone who does that and wants to speak to an audience, I think that you've got, again, another kind of education. But it's not structured necessarily. But and I'm sure that's going on with other things all the time, which is good. And also, as somebody who used to help the library pick artwork from when the Gasparilla Art Festival would come, it is preserving. Well, that isn't, and that's not necessarily a surprise, because the library system has gathered a pictorial history of Tampa and Hillsborough County from the very, very beginning. And maybe you want to talk about that. I think that's a marvelous thing.
About the Burgert Brothers.
The Burgert Brothers, yes.
Well, Burgert Brothers photographic collection is just a treasure for Tampa.
Right.
The Friends of the Library helped us obtain it in the 70s. And we have 15,000 photographs that were taken by the Burgert Brothers Photographic Studio, and they go from the late 1890s up into the late 50s.
Right.
And the public can get prints made for themselves, and they're all on the internet. You can access it.
Right.
We have a new site called the Digital Collections, and we have there the Burgert Brothers collection, our art collection, our new library history collection that we did in honor of the Centennial, and our oral histories are there, and some genealogy items also.
Who speaks in the oral history collection? That would be interesting.
We have quite a few people who. It's very rich in content. I'll
bet. John Germany was at one point at a sort of in a conversation who had been what known as maybe the father of USF.
Oh, Sam Gibbons.
Yes.
Yes.
And they had terrific things to talk about, I thought.
Yes.
Do you find people who are, say, very, very skilled or have a lot of experience in the development of Ybor City? Do you have those, or do you have, for example, the Columbia restaurant owners who really go back?
No, we don't have either of those. We do have a lot of our meeting rooms have been named for people, so who were instrumental in the libraries, and we have oral histories of them.
Right.
And I believe we have one of Mr. Germany.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
He's been a great friend to the library system, I think.
He has.
Yeah. And a great reader, I should say.
Yes.
Very, very good. He, of course, is named, the library downtown is named after him for very good reason. I think he was very, very enthusiastic about that. What kind of a history of Tampa and Hillsborough do you have available, for example? Let me say that this year, the library's calendars, the Friends of the Library put out a calendar But this time we have a very special calendar.
Yes, we do.
And this
Yes.
is it. Describe it
Yeah.
and tell us about it.
Well, this is our Centennial calendar. The Friends of the Library published it in honor of the Centennial. It's called Treasures of Tampa, Hillsborough County, Florida. It contains Burgett Brother photographs. There's one for each week of the year. And opposite the photo for that week is a week of dates, and each of those dates has at least one little historic note about something that happened in the library history or the history of Tampa and Hillsborough County for that day.
Right.
It's known as a perpetual calendar, so it never goes out of date. It's really for recording dates that you want a record of, like your birthdays and anniversaries, those type of things. It also has a short history of our libraries.
Oh, good.
And a short history of the Friends of the Library.
Right. Then you know how this county grew. When we arrived
Yeah.
in Tampa, which was quite a while ago, it still was a small town.
Yes.
But after about 10 or 15 years, you could feel the pickup of development.
Yes.
And I often wondered how it was planned, if it was in fact planned, that the county would start to develop, say, to the west or up to the northeast and so forth. Does the history sort of follow that?
It does, and it does include little facts about how Hillsborough County gradually lost part of its area, like you were talking about earlier. But Hillsborough County, our service area is almost the size of the state of Rhode Island.
Wow.
It's a big county, and what the library system would do is, as areas grew out in the county, you know, like Ruskin, Lutz, Riverview, we would start with a bookmobile service to serve.
And you
the
still
people.
do have it,
Yes,
don't
and we
you?
still do have
Yeah.
that. It's one of our oldest services.
Yeah.
Our first book car is what it was called, started in the 20s. So it was one of our first services.
Right.
But that was the only way we could expand because we didn't have money to buy land or to build a building. So these bookmobiles would provide service. And many times before the bookmobile even arrived, a women's club would have started a lending library on their own. And then the bookmobile came in. And then once the area grew more and we got an established grassroots support of people who wanted library service, and as we got funding for it, we would build a building. And that's gradually how our library system grew. It was as those county areas, people started moving out there, then we would gradually bring library service to them.
And because you had meeting rooms usually, then they also almost function as not established governments or anything like that, but for groups who are doing maybe creating gardens or parks, something that the community was engaged in. And so it became a kind of a community center as well.
Yes, it's a real meeting place.
Yeah.
And especially today, I was at one of our libraries last night, and there were 2 homeowners association meetings going on in our meeting rooms, a Friends of the Library meeting and a children's program going on.
And all that could take place under the roof?
Yes,
of
all at one
building.
time, yes.
Terrific.
Meeting rooms are a real priority for us right now. And because often there's no other place for groups to meet, and we're also taking some of the public space and repurposing it to collaborative areas. So say, last night at the same library, that afternoon, there had been a group of high school students meeting around this furniture area, and they were able to use a new thing that we have called a Mediascape, which is a big monitor, and the kids sitting all around a little table, they're able to hook in their laptop to this Mediascape, and the project that they're working on, they can have up on the big screen.
Marvelous.
So not only we have meeting rooms, we have informal collaborative space for people who want to work together and create.
Very, very good. It occurs to me that people who are studying to be in library science always have to update now. In the last 25 years, the march of computers and technology has opened many doors and has presented many problems to some people who have who don't know quite how to operate in it. And the libraries do offer a very good, sort of a safe place to try to begin that journey. For sure. And I think that is another community service which is really done very well, but it's done so well and so smoothly, people just really don't know about it. They may have joined and has prospered from it, but not really understanding that this is an important piece of the community that should always be preserved. And luckily, because we have a kind of a dedicated budget, it can be and I think that's another part of very good forward thinking on the part of our community too. Now, tell me about Andy's and the contest you're doing.
Yes, well, in honor of the Centennial, we are having what we're calling the Flat Andy contest. What you see here is Flat Andy. He is the image of Andrew Carnegie. This is actually 5 feet tall, and he was 5'3". So it's just a little shorter than he was. Yes. But this is Flat Andy. He's our mascot for the Centennial. The contest is based on the popular children's books called Flat Stanley. Stanley was flattened by a bulletin board. And then he was able to travel everywhere, like under doors and go wherever he wanted as a flat person. So, and then schools started having Flat Andy contests where the kids would cut out an image of Flat Andy, Flat Stanley, and give to their grandparents or their parents who were going on a trip, and you take a picture. It was like a geography lesson. Right. So this is what the Flat Andy contest is based on. In the libraries and online, we have images, this image that you can cut out. There's a contest for children and a contest for adults. And we are asking the customers to take Flat Andy, their cutout of Flat Andy, anywhere in the world and take a picture of him in front of a public library.
But they have to personally do this?
Yes, yes. Well, they can give it to say, a grandparent who lives in Boston. They could send it to a grandparent there, and the grandparent could go take a picture of Flat Andy.
So they can initiate it?
Yes, yes. Oh, and then the submission, your entry is that photo. And then we will have a drawing at the end of the year on Flat Andy's birthday, which is November 25th. That was when Andrew Carnegie was born.
Right, right. And the farthest
yes,
photograph?
There'll be another drawing for the furthest that somebody sends Flat Andy. It will be measured from the West Tampa Branch Library. And then we'll also have another drawing for those who are able to get a photo of Flat Andy in front of a Carnegie-funded library.
Oh, good. That is terrific.
Yes, so I think it's going to be a lot of fun. We'll have a birthday party in November, and we'll announce the winners, their cash prizes for it. Oh. And that's being funded by the Friends of the Libraries Development Committee.
Very good. Very, very good.
So, and at that event also, we will be talking about the future of libraries.
They're very important.
Yes, we'll have the latest things that people are using and in libraries.
Right, library science is becoming, in fact, a real science because it has to be really good in any number of fields. If someone wanted to see if there were any goings-on during this anniversary year, where would they look?
Well, they just need to go to the library's webpage, which is hcplc.org. Okay. And there will be a banner for the Flat Andy contest. You can just click that on. There's also just a general page for the Centennial.
Right. How long have you been in the library system here?
I've been working here for 13 years.
And liked every bit of it, I bet.
Oh, love it, yes. I've had just some wonderful jobs. Yes, it's an adventure every day.
I bet it is. If you had to pick maybe one or two things that you think the library will always be known for, what would it be?
Well, I think providing, well, the fact that it's free.
Sure.
That's
That's
number
very
one,
important.
and that was
Yeah.
Andrew Carnegie's vision, and that it's a place for everybody to learn for a lifetime. It's lifelong learning.
That's great.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure everything will go as intended. And beyond that, I think it has a lot of fun things to do, too. I don't know if the book, I know every springtime the recreation department has people, youngsters, who create sort of tableaus of acting based on books. And I've seen them in the libraries. I've seen them in department stores, too. And they've always attracted a crowd wherever they go. And when I saw the first one, I just assumed it would be the library system, but I think it was a sort of like a cooperative venture between the recreation department and the library system to encourage it. And the kids were just amazing. They were wonderful, as a matter of fact. I think it led to careers in some instances. Well, I think there's going to be a wonderful celebration, and one whole 365 days. Well, not quite now, but pretty soon, pretty soon. We encourage everybody to take a look and see what's doing in your part of Hillsborough County, and enjoy the library, and just be glad that you are part of the Hillsborough County Library System. It's a good one. Thanks so much for being here.